Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome on into the swear word. I'm your host, Brandon Swear, and hey, this is a podcast for the chilihead community, by the chilihead community. Regardless of your spice tolerance, this is the place for you. Up tonight, we have an amazing episode on deck. Whether you are a hot sauce, spicy food lover, or you're into snakes, there's definitely going to be some great conversation, some great correlation here, and discussions had, as well as a very fun game plan. So, episode 177 starts now. What's going on, Swear Nation? So glad to have everyone here. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, and or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for being here and continuing to make this podcast what it is. If this is your first time checking out the podcast, glad to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. And to all those that have been rocking since day one, thank you so much for being here and continuing to make this podcast what it is. Share this out with other like-minded chiliheads or individuals that are curious about the world of hot, because this is where you can find everything to do with the world of hot. Up tonight, we have a great guest, locked and loaded, Stephen Kennedy of Snaketuary here. So we're going to be talking about Snaketuary's hot sauce, its overall mission, how it got started, and just the path forward, much, much more, and tons of education on how snakes and peppers and how this whole thing came to be. So we're going to be diving on into that, as well as a very fun game plan. So if you would have answered the game any different than Steve does, let me know down below in the comments what your winners would have been, and if you have tried any of these sauces. So looking forward to it, but let's do this. Let's go ahead and kick off tonight's podcast. Welcome on into another amazing episode of Hot or Not. Up tonight, we have one product on deck. And as always, I do not like to read the ingredients ahead of time. I like to let my taste buds do the exploration, as well as, ultimately, I break things down a little bit different than most. I do things in a 5-category rating. Those categories are heat, aroma, flavor, versatility, burn. And yes, I do view heat and burn as two separate things. Heat is that initial first 30 seconds. Burn is that post 30 seconds. Does it amplify? Does it intensify? Does it migrate? Does it do all these other different things? That's where the burn factor characteristic comes in. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the very first product from Steve's Snaketuary. So we're going to be checking out the polyvalent anti-venom. I probably mispronounced that, so pardon me if I did. Without further ado, let's go ahead and give this one a good shake and take a look at what we got going on here. It's in a nice plastic bottle. This is a 8-ounce bottle, so nice hearty helping of sauce here. No 5-ounce woozies going on. So that part's nice. You get another 3 ounces of hot sauce to enjoy. This is the anti-venom. This is also supposed to be the hottest sauce that Steve's Snaketuary offers. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and open this one on up. Tinfoil looking seal, like a nice little food seal in there. Oh my goodness, beautiful aroma. The second you pop it open, you get that great overall just aromatic pop. You get a little bit of peppers, some nice savory body. What smells like maybe a little bit of garlic going on, some citrus, maybe some kind of like an allspice or something. Go ahead and give this one a good pour here. So yes, for all those keeping track, it has the safety seal. As you take off the lid, you can pull the tab and you're good to go. Nice wide mouth opening here on this hot sauce. So easy flow, plus you have the squeeze of the plastic. So liking that. Let's get a nice hearty tablespoon as always. Medium consistency, very strong hold. That's a nice hearty tablespoon right there. Same great aroma that you're getting straight from the bottle. Nice overall, looks like little bits in there for the texture aspect. So not a completely smooth, but it does have a nice hold, still has a nice flow. I imagine you set this on a nice hot plate of food. This is going to perfectly dissipate into what you're eating. So cheers. Oh my goodness. Right off the bat, savory, a little bit of sweet, bright overall spice note that kind of comes forward. Mostly from like a cinnamon or something of that nature, like a spice like that, like a dry spice that kind of brings forward a more complex note to that savory body that's going on in there. I want to say that maybe is a little bit of onion and garlic towards the finish, but there is a resounding rolling note of very true, like a more curry note, curry-esque undertone to this beautiful sauce. Right off the bat, that first initial flash of heat radiates all around the front of the mouth, the lips, the gums, the tongue, and it really kind of has latched on more towards the top of the roof of the mouth for that part. And then as the burn really starts to come in, what you're noticing is it's going more from the roof of the mouth to the back of the throat, really starting to, settle a little bit into the path of the throat slash upper chest. So it's a much more deep burn. Definitely indicative of a nice super hot in this mix for that. A little bit of a stinging in the mouth. Interesting enough there. I wonder if there is a little bit of like a habanero or something going on in this. But that deep main focus of the burn is still more in that throat, chest, back of the throat area. So all in all, phenomenal stuff. Feeling a little bit of a tickle on the nose, no eyes watering or anything of that nature, but phenomenal sauce. One that if you're just starting out, probably not the safest one for you. He has other great options there, so check those on out. But the anti-venom here is going to be geared towards those that are constantly working on your own personal best. You're pushing yourself. Very versatile in the sense that you could use it on just about anything except for, I probably wouldn't be utilizing this on desserts. No worries, no harm, no foul there. Not really geared towards that, so not a big problem. But all in all, phenomenal stuff. We have ingredients of vinegar, tomato sauce, scorpion pepper mash, lemon juice, thyme, tamarind concentrate, mustard powder, black pepper, onion powder, garlic powder. Phenomenal stuff there, Steve. If you would like to pick up your own bottle, I will have the direct link down below for this, as well as link to the main site so you can check out the full lineup of amazing hot sauces. Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Awesome, man. Glad to be here, dude.
Glad to have you here. Obviously, had the pleasure of, first of all, hearing about all this. At first I was told there's this guy that really likes snakes, and he also is into hot sauce, and you have to meet him. And so, that was the first, I guess, introduction on my end of to
Yeah.
you and who you are. But for all of those that are, watching, listening, unfamiliar, I always like to start out with the icebreaker of what got you into the world of hot, and then what was that catapulting moment that you said, you know what, I'm going to start making my own hot sauce.
Man, it's been a wild ride for that. I can't remember what year it was. It had to have been probably around 97, I guess. 96, 97, 98, somewhere around there. Um, a friend and I don't even remember, I don't even think the store is there anymore, but the guy carried some hot sauce and he had some of the Blair's, whatever death sauce it was at the time. And I remember him. This is when I was a kid, the salsa at Mexican restaurants was too hot for me,
Okay.
and so I was never into hot sauce. But like I said, around 96, 97, 98, somewhere around there, a friend and I went into a store and the guy had some Blair's death sauce, whatever kind of Blair's sauce it was at the time. And he dipped a toothpick in it and put the toothpick on, and it made me cough and gag, but it was just a rush. And so after some time after that, let's see, I got married in 2000. Shortly after that, we had a store here that actually carried some hot sauces, and I don't even remember. I remember buying that Blair's, and I bought some barbecue hot sauce. I don't even know the name of it. I don't even remember. But I remember trying to cook hamburgers and putting that on the hamburgers while we were cooking, and about killed everybody in the family. We had to go open windows. I mean, it was rough. It was rough. So I kind of dove head first into hot sauce. I seemed to buy the hottest stuff first instead of trying to ease into it, and so it's been a very interesting ride. through the hot sauce world, man. And but I love it, man. I've got cabinets full of hot sauce, and so that was my introduction. Trying some of the hottest hot sauce at that time. That just kind of, like I said, dove head first into it. As far as me coming out with my own signature hot sauce, so the whole deal. So I'm sure we'll get into it more. Me being into snakes with Steve Snaketuary. In the herpetology community, venomous snakes are considered hot snakes. And I loved hot sauce. I keep hot snakes and I have a lot of hot sauce. So I figured hot snakes, hot sauce. So I said, this is something that I've never seen in the herpetology community. So I'm going to jump on board. I'm going to do it, you know? So, reached out and worked with somebody on it and came up with our own signature flavors. We tailored the heat levels and the flavors to the types of snakes that we have. And we started out with just 3 sauces. Then we moved to 5 and now we're up to 10. So yeah, it's just, like I said, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just to think about the initial entry in salsa kind of being a little bit too much, right? And then to just have this wild hair one day that just goes, you know what,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try this. Is just so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And then for you to just continue to double down on just pushing your tolerance by just staying in the deep end. It's
Yeah.
a real sink or swim moment right there. And the crossover
Right.
between the two, yeah, the fascination, which we will definitely dive into a little bit more because I have some wild questions that I want to ask around snakes and hot sauce and potential crossovers. But the just the path is it's so cool to hear and see and know that you're not only you're not only just selling the hot sauce to fuel the business. The hot sauce is actually helping the snakes, and
Yeah.
so obviously have you share a little bit more about that for anyone that is either passionate about snake preservation and health in that sense, as to where like maybe somebody that's just may not be quite as educated on snakes like myself, in the sense of knowing how to distinguish one from another. uh,
Right.
you know, and that will kind of help, I think, bridge the gap between the two. So, like, how do you utilize the hot sauce to help the snakes? For someone that doesn't understand, I'm sure their first thought is, "What does this have snake in it?" So, I guess to put their mind
Exactly.
at ease.
I get that all the time. I get 2 questions. Does it have snake meat in it and does it have actual venom in it? No, it doesn't have snake meat or venom in it. I will throw this out there though. I have some friends in the military. This is just kind of a crazy off the wall story, but I'll bring it back. Um, his one of his rites of passage when they went overseas was to drink cobra venom. And it's not, honestly, it's not going to do anything to you as long as you don't have any cuts in your mouth or any like stomach ulcers or anything like that. As long as it can't get into the bloodstream, your stomach acid would actually eat up the venom, so it's not going to do anything to you. And I kind of jokingly told him, if he wants a real rite of passage, he can come over to my house with some of the venomous that we have here. So, um, but yeah, the venom sauce does not have venom or snake meat in it. So, but yes, it does. All the proceeds, all the the sales of our hot sauce that goes back into the sanctuary to support the sanctuary. Um, but it's always interesting, man, because we do so many different types of events. We do reptile events. We do just off the wall events. We do farmers markets and things like that. But it's always interesting. You get some weird looks, especially when you're doing a farmers market and you have snakes there, and you're like, "Here, try my hot sauce," and they're kind of taken aback a little bit. They just don't get it. They don't understand it. But like I
Yep.
said, it's hot snakes, hot sauce, and the sales they're all snake themed. All the hot sauces have names for snakes and things like that, snake related, and then all the sales go back to our reptile rescue. So
Okay. Okay. Now, something you had mentioned, and this is something that I was waiting to kind of bring up here. So glad that it has just kind of naturally flowed this way. But ingesting venom and ingesting hot sauce. This is where I was wondering, is there any kind of like sting? Is there any kind of like weird sensation going on in the body whenever you're, ingesting venom like that?
Honestly, he didn't go into detail about that, but I know all of his military buddies did. Um, I have personally, so I've never actually drank venom, but I have had some of my snakes hit the cages and some of the venom fly out and get on my face.
Hmm.
And it does kind of sting the face a little bit. I have had a friend of a friend actually was dealing with some cobras and some venom got in his eye and he's partially blind now. So it does have effects just and now you have blood vessels and things like that in the eye. Um, so I mean I'm sure that's how that affected his eye, but I know whenever I got it on my face, it does sting a little bit on my face. It does
Yeah.
burn. It's a burning sensation. So that compared to hot sauce, it's almost similar for me. The venom that got on my face, and then drinking hot sauce or whatever, it's kind of similar in burn. So
Interesting. Interesting. And I guess because I'm trying to think like other things that are venomous or, what have you in that same kind of correlation. Obviously, you hear oftentimes if a what is that puffer fish is not prepared right,
yeah.
etc. It could be dangerous. And then spiders have different reactions whenever they bite you,
Mhm.
etc. So is all, I guess, once again, just not knowing and understanding this, is all venom from snakes, uh, like, does it just completely obliterate any kind of like cells essentially in its path, or does it distinctly go after? Because I've heard people talk about using where you can use like venom to help fight. People have tried fighting cancer cells with it, right? So
Mhm.
like I know it
Yes,
can kind
yes.
of kill those, but like, does it know what it's attacking, or does it just attack anything essentially?
Yeah, so yeah, there's actually several different types of venom. So you have like water moccasins, copperheads, rattlesnakes. They have mostly hemotoxic, so it messes with your blood. Things like coral snakes, cobras, other kinds of snakes have neurotoxic venom, so it shuts down your nervous system. And then also some of them have cytotoxic properties. So the cytotoxic actually rots out the flesh, and that's where you get the holes in the skin and things like that.
Mhm.
And then you've got cardiotoxic properties. So there's different properties. The two main ones are hemotoxic and neurotoxic, but you've got other different kind of chemical makeups in the venom. So yeah, it depends on the kind of snake, and what kind of reaction it's going to do to the body. So
That's
I guess
very
it kind of I
fascinating.
guess you could kind of well I don't know if you want to kind of compare that to different types of peppers. You know how different types of
That.
peppers will either burn going in or burn coming out.
Hmm.
So I guess you can kind of compare it to different types of peppers too.
But that's immediately where my head was starting to make this correlation, and kind of where I was thinking is ultimately the different types of capsaicinoids in there kind of hit and alarm and trigger the body and mind in certain different ways. Obviously, capsaicin is not inflicting all these different I guess, real alarming effects other than just
Yeah.
discomfort. But with, the different types of venom, that's interesting because it is, there is a little bit of a parallel there between the two on just the different variations within it, kind of having distinctly different properties. Um,
Mhm.
Wild, wild. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, everyone knows the king cobra. Everyone knows like the copperheads and the well-known, more high threat. But I would assume, much like with the pepper side of the world, with the hot sauce side of the world, etc., you have some peppers that will test not quite as high, but really rock your world. Is there like a
Mhm.
snake correlation to that? Like, obviously, king cobra is like what everyone knows, but is there like a
Yeah.
different snake that's not quite as known that it will actually kind of, I guess, put you through some longer duration of pain?
That's an excellent question you just brought up, and I think we're on the same wavelength here. You just brought up another comparison that I've never thought about before, so this is awesome. So in the pepper world, you've got the Scovilles, right? And in the venomous snake world, you've got the LD50 level. So that's the lethal dose to kill 50% of the test subjects. So if you have 100 rats, what's it take to kill 50 of those? So they do rate snakes on that level. And if I thought about it, man, that's an excellent question. I love that analogy. I'm glad you brought that up. That's awesome. I've actually got the LD50 chart printed out, and I usually take that to my presentations. And so they do rate snakes on that level. But the answer in my presentations, the answer that I give to the most venomous snake in the world is the one that just bit you. And the reason I say that is because look, I've got cobras, I have copperheads, I've got rattlesnakes, I've got all these different kinds of venomous. If I get bit by a copperhead, I'm not going to be worried about my cobra, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, we don't have cobras here locally. Well, I mean, people like me keep them as pets, but if you go out in the woods, you're not going to have to worry about getting bit by a cobra, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's the one that just bit you. And so I guess it's kind of that way also with the hot sauce and the pepper world. You know, you've got the Scovilles, but the one that's going to hurt you is the one that you eat, right?
Yeah.
So I love that analogy, man. I'm glad you brought that up. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So they do rate snakes on that LD50 level, but again, it's going to depend on what type of venom it is, on how it reacts with the body. It's going to depend on how healthy you are, if you have any pre-existing conditions. If you're taking any medicines, they're different. There's a lots of different factors that go into a snake bite on how it makes it deadly, not deadly, or how much it's going to affect the body. And I guess, man, just take this just another step farther. I'm not going to give his name because I don't want to. He's a good friend of mine, but he did. There was some hot sauce. I don't think it was one of the one chip challenges. I don't remember. I think it was some type of hot sauce that he had brought to work and did not know that he was allergic to the nightshade family.
Oh, wow.
And whatever pepper was in that hot sauce that he ate had that, it was in that nightshade family, and he had to get rushed to the hospital. And he loves hot sauce, but whatever hot sauce that was that he ate actually had that in it. So again, I guess that correlates with the snake venom. You don't know how your body specifically is going to react to that venom. And so, man, that's a great analogy. I'm glad you brought that up. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. The correlation there definitely makes sense, and it to know that the, I guess, breakdown, because I never knew. I've always seen the LD50, but I never understood what that meant. And in all fairness, at the same time, like, to me, a snake is a snake, other than like the two or three that I
Mhm.
see commonly whenever I either go fishing or hunting or whatever. But if I'm out in my backyard, the very first time setting up my garden, I about lost it. I had no idea what was going on. I had no clue what snakes
Mhm.
these were, nothing. I found, because my neighbors all around me have pools and I don't, they'll go like towards the perimeter of my fence, if you will, to be close enough to the
Yeah.
water, but far enough away from their dogs. And I was digging, 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 and getting this bed like prepared. And as I was pulling back some of this topsoil, all of a sudden there's like a kind of like a nest of, I guess, snake. There's like 8 snakes in this hole
Yeah.
that I'm just like, what is going on? And so like I
Yeah.
freak out. I'm like, all right, trying to figure out, do I need to move the kids? Do I need to move the dog? What's going on? Only to find out they're just like, tiny garden snakes, and then some of the
Yeah.
bigger ones are rat snakes. And I was just like, oh, we're good. But still doesn't change the fact that my wife is, regardless of whether she knows it's safe or not, terrified. So, yeah,
That's man. Now you just brought up something else that I want to ask you about,
yeah,
because I think this correlates to that. Man, you're bringing up some awesome analogies, man. This is great. Some stuff that nobody's ever brought up before. So people always ask me, how do you identify a venomous snake compared to a non-venomous snake? So first of all, a lot of people say it's the head shape. If
hmm
it's got a diamond or a triangle shaped head, that's venomous. You can't always go by that, because they're like rat snakes and some of the non-venomous water snakes. They'll flatten their heads out into a diamond or a triangle shape to mimic venomous snakes.
hmm
And then also with the coral snakes don't have the diamond or triangle shaped head. They've got just the normal head, and they're
yeah,
highly venomous. They have neurotoxic venom. Some people bring up the eyes. If it's got a cat slit pupil, that it's venomous. Well, first of all, their pupils dilate just like people's eyes, so they can look round in a low light situation. I've got lots of pictures of my copperheads and some of my rattlesnakes. When I took the picture, there was a shadow, so it looks like they have a round pupil. And then again with the coral snakes, they don't have the cat slit pupil. They've got a round pupil, so you can't go by the eyes and you can't go by the head shape. There is one thing, and I never play. Whoever's listening to this or watching this, do not pick up a snake and flip it over and look. But in the native snakes in especially in Louisiana, but in the United States, if you flip them over, the little slit toward the end of their tails, they're cloaca. That's where they go to the bathroom and they have their babies. If you look past that, on most of them, if you look past that, if you see 2 rows of scales, it's non-venomous. If you see 1 row of scales, it's venomous.
Hmm.
So now, here's the analogy that I want to kind of ask you about to kind of help me out.
Okay.
I kind of want to talk this through, I guess.
Yeah.
Peppers.
Uh-huh.
How can you, first of all, and the reason I'm saying can you identify a pepper by its look, I know some of them have different little characteristics that you can look at, but when you get into hybrids and things like that, can you use any identifying marks on that pepper to figure out what type of pepper it is?
You can to an extent. Very much true to how you were explaining the differentiators of snakes, which, by the way, I want to ask something because I've been told something different and you didn't mention it. You mentioned the eye, like the pupil, but I have heard if it has like basically like a bridged looking eyelid, like above its eye, then those are the ones that are the venomous. Like that's what I've always been told. Is
Yeah,
that part
no,
true?
for most of the time, but again with the coral snake, it's one of those outliers that just kind of
Mm,
it kind of breaks all the rules. So
okay.
yeah, not with the coral snake. So most of the rattlesnakes, the water moccasins, and even the copperheads a little bit. Yeah, they do kind of have like a little ridge or something right over their
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, for the peppers side of things, yes, there you can use that to an extent. Like obviously, looking at uh, the the calyx will kind of tell you a good bit about the differentiating. I guess what to expect. I guess the easiest way to put this is whether or not you're about to get pelted in the face with a lot of heat. You can kind of tell by the calyx a little bit. I know if once again your final analogy of flipping the snake over, very true to the sense of, and there's still a caveat with this, so I will preface as I say this. There's a caveat, but if you cut open a pepper and you are to inspect the seeds, the seed shape does change based upon the genetics of the pepper. So chinense look a little bit different than annuum, etc., and so on forth. Now, with that being said, the caveat here is, as crossbreeding, as hybridization happens, as all these things are going into effect, and you have more people trying to cross peppers that may not know the full understanding of it. Not saying that I do perfectly either, but the more that people just kind of get in there and meddle with things, and they're crossing this with that, or they're growing something too close that they're trying to cross this, but then they're growing it too close to something else that they had no intent to cross. Over time, it just starts to kind of muddy the lines. And like, sure, at a certain point, you just go, the predominant gene, and then in
Yeah.
this pepper is chinense, or the predominant gene in this is annuum or baccatum or whatever. And so you can kind of go in that route, but yeah, as it gets more and more hybridized, it does become a little bit more difficult to know the true origins of where that pepper started. At the same time, there is testing that can be done for that, but as you're well aware, tests at the same time are only good as their parameters and the
Mhm.
consistency of the person doing them. So, you may have one test that results in a super high SHU, if you will, just for simplicity of conversation. But next thing you know, it's like the parameters at which that sample was tested was not the same as the two next to it. So one
Yeah.
could be skewed one way or the other. So that's a little bit of the difficulties, if you will. Now, the other big telltales are, the wall size, the lining, all these kind of other notes come in. Obviously, smell is a
Mhm.
huge one. You're able to quickly pick up that capsaicin on the nostrils on those higher peppers, higher heat peppers than say some of the lower heat ones. But that's not very, very true to what we were saying earlier. Not
Yeah.
to put aside the ones that are technically a lower SHU, because some of those that might look like a nice, thick, hearty, juicy wall to this pepper, it may also still have some like extra high dihydrocapsaicin in there or something of that nature to really kind of inflict more pain without actually being tested higher. So
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Well, there's another question. Man, I don't know how much we want to delve into all this. So there's kind of two questions that I had. So you can get into breeding snakes when you were talking about, crossing the peppers too, where you can get several different genes in this snake.
mm-hmm.
And then you have dominant genes, you have co-dominant genes and all this other stuff. Can you have that same thing with peppers where you have several different genes, but there's some dominant, some co-dominant, things like that? Can you have that with peppers?
I would believe so, but I would also want to defer to someone that was actually more
Yeah.
educated in that. But from my understanding, I'll answer it that way. The genes obviously are still there, present in the overall pepper. Like, let's say, timeline wise, let's say one pepper crossed with another one crossed with another, and then all of a sudden you have people crossing, two different gene types with these other, and so like you start to now if you're staying in the same species, it's going to be a little bit harder, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're staying just in chenins, like it's going to be, you're not going to be able to look at the seed and be like, oh, well, this is a Jay's Peach Go Scorpion, or this is like that part's not going to be distinguishable in that sense. Now, something there are pepper seeds that are black. Those are a little bit different. So, like, that would be a little bit more easy to at least hone into a type of, I guess, family of pepper, if you will, because ultimately only so many actually have that trait. But when you're talking crossing all these in and like, some of these, some of these crosses out here, like let's just take the Primotali, for example, right? That's two different peppers that came together to make that one selection over time, etc., to get exactly what you want. Well, now you have people crossing that in with, like, let's say just anything else, habanero, right? Now you're starting to
Mhm.
see it may look exactly like the Primotali, or it might start to look a little bit more like a hodgepodge of the two. But if it looks more like a Primotali, but it's already been crossed from a visual standpoint, you might not notice that, but you might pick it up in the characteristic traits. So that's where those fine little details of can all the, I guess, genetic makeup of the pepper still stay there. I mean, it's the same, I
Mhm.
guess, the same theory with human society, how we can predict and say, okay, well, this is, this person's from England or this person's from,
Right.
whatever, right? So I would assume it would be pretty much the same. It's just as it continues, the lines kind of get a little bit more muddied in that sense.
Mhm. I was kind of curious about that because there's you can crossbreed different types of snakes. One of the ones that's very highly sought after, only so far only one zoo has successfully done it, and it's been in a controlled environment. There's not been any accounts of it being in the wild or anything like that. They've crossed the water moccasin and the copperhead, and it's called a cottonhead. And like I said, there's only one zoo that has successfully done it. And people are questioning the venom composition.
Mm-hmm.
So copperheads and water moccasins have both hemotoxic venom, but the water moccasin is more potent than the copperhead. And from my knowledge, I don't know of anybody that's actually tested their venom to see what the composition is. So that's why I was kind of curious about the peppers also, when you start crossing them, does it kind of, and I know there's been some, I don't want to say controversy, I guess, but when you add Scoville units together,
Mhm.
it's not like you're adding one on top of the other. It's almost, do they kind of meet in the middle when you're crossing peppers and things like that?
Well,
So I was kind of curious for that.
yeah, that's the part that, still is a bit of an unknown. Everyone would like to think you take the hottest pepper and you cross it with another of the hottest pepper, and it's gonna create something even hotter, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it will actually fall short. Sometimes it will, one season seem to be higher than the other and, find its own new balance in there. So, like, then there's times where people will deliberately cross, a hot ultra hot, we'll call it, with a more tame pepper, and then all of a sudden the outcome, very much like the Primatali, is much more devastating than expectations, right?
Mhm.
So you will, and nature is something that man likes to think that we can fully control, but nature is always thriving, living, and it's going to do what it sees fit for
Yeah, yeah,
Earth, for life, everything.
right,
So that part's a
right.
little bit hard to clearly define. But yeah, to the same point, like the venom, uh, to me, it sounds like, well, first of all, once again, this is the uneducated person speaking here on snakes. It's like all I can think of is why. Why would you do this? Why would you want to risk like two of the snakes that you for sure want to avoid, and now make it combined into one snake that now you have
Yeah.
three snakes to really worry about that are within the same family?
Yeah. So, well, I will answer to this. It's a kind of sort of on subject, but a little off. People ask me all the time, why in the world do you keep snakes, period, but especially venomous snakes? And so we do so many educational presentations every year. We've gotten, last year we did, it was just over 110. It was almost 115 presentations last year. And so when I do my presentation, and a lot of times, I talk to first responders, doctors, nurses, and things like that. And so when I talk to those kinds of people, I go more into the snake bites and first aid treatment and things like that. And so I keep the venomous stuff from an educational standpoint. And then also, I may not be available to go on every call. We get between 300 and 400 calls every year for reptiles and snakes. And sometimes I may not be available. And so when I teach first responders, I'm like, well, look, here's what these venomous look like. Here's if somebody got bit, here's things that you need to look for. So I keep them from an educational standpoint. And then also we have to have it's gotten crazy. It's gotten so crazy. I really don't want to go into details, but we have to have permits to keep especially the venomous, but several of the
Hmm.
constrictors that we have. And the permitting system has just gotten insane.
Yeah.
Um, but I do things from a legal standpoint. I get my permits every year. Having a business, I have to get all my business certifications, all my permits, and all that. But there are people that don't,
Hmm.
and there's people that keep things illegally. So I teach, especially first responders. I teach, look, I may not be available on that snake bite call. So here's what, and there could be your neighbor that keeps venomous snakes and nobody knows about it because they don't do it legally.
Yeah.
So you may end up getting that call. Here are things that you need to look for.
Hmm.
So that's why I personally keep venomous snakes for the educational standpoint of it. Um, but as far as crossbreeding and stuff, that's depending on who you talk to. I like it. It's interesting to me to see new and exciting things that aren't, and I understand it is kind of I guess it could really be an ethical issue. You really don't want to play God. You don't want to create something you're not supposed to have
Hmm.
kind of aspect of it. So in the herpetology community, there's a lot of people that don't like the crossbreeding and that kind of thing. I think it's interesting. You can come up with some really cool stuff,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of people that don't agree with it, and I
Yeah.
can kind of understand their viewpoint too. I did want to, before I forget, I want to kind of go back. You mentioned something earlier that I want to kind of go back to, and I guess I want to bring it again with the peppers. You had said something about the snake and snake venom with is as far as medicines.
Yeah.
So yeah, they do. They use snake venom for all kinds of medicines now. They're curing, like copperhead venom has a protein in it called contortrostatin, and they're using that to stop the spread of cancer cells, breast cancer cells. So they're using that for that research. They've got medicines for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. They're using some snake venom to for like uh, heart attacks and things like that to
Hmm.
unclot the blood. Um, so yes, they do use snake venom for medicinal purposes. And and I tell everybody, look, just like you're here for a reason, there's a purpose for you being here. It's the same thing with snakes.
Yep.
They're here for a reason too. And it's very interesting to me, especially and just to tell all the viewers too, I'm also a firefighter, advanced EMT. So, I look at things from that medical standpoint too, and I just think it's awesome. Something that can hurt you can also heal you, and I
Yep.
just think that's amazing. So bringing this back to the pepper world, I'm not going to name any specific people or specific peppers because number one, I don't want to misquote anybody. I
Hmm.
don't want to say anything wrong. But I was told several years ago that a particular person was trying to grow a particular pepper to use as if somebody was allergic to anesthesia to actually rub that pepper or that extract to numb it. Have you heard of that?
I have not, but that
Okay.
does kind of go perfectly with another thing. But yes, it did. I mean, did you have more on that before I asked
Well,
that other?
yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that if you had heard about that because it was several years, and like I said, I don't want to name the person or the
Yeah.
pepper because I don't want to misquote anybody or say something just misstep,
Hmm.
But I was told that there was a particular pepper that this person was working on to try to use it if someone was allergic to anesthesia to be able to use that pepper to numb that area that they were going to work on in the medical field. So I just thought that was interesting. I was going to bring the snakes back to the peppers with that. So.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and that part is the interesting part because, like, obviously you have capsaicin in like different ointments for joint pain or whatever, muscle tightness, all these different things, and then they'll also use it in. God, I mean, they'll use it for many different applications, but yeah, the same part. It's like ultimately the burn causes a more of a relaxing sensation as it starts to pass away in that section. So that's what kind of relieves that either joint pain, etc. And so that makes sense. And I have heard where people will opt for that over, say, like a steroid cream because they don't want the steroid cream. And so with that, it made me think of, can, like, if you were to, and I guess this is perfect example for you because I'm sure that throughout the many, many times of handling snakes, working with snakes in general, I would assume you probably got bit at least once. So I would ask, I guess, is the sting burn initial sensation, obviously the prolonged thing is a little bit different, but the initial sting sensation of it all, does it feel similar to maybe what it would be like as if you were to have a cut on your hand or arm or whatever and you get capsaicin in there? Is that kind of that same burning feel?
Well, first of all, I've never been bit by a venomous snake,
Okay.
thankfully. I use hooks and tongs, and I've got bite-proof gloves that I use for my venomous. The Now, as far as the other snakes, the non-venomous, I get bit all the time by. Of course, the smaller the snake, it feels like a little pinch. Sometimes
Hmm.
you just don't even feel it. Now, all snakes do have teeth, so they do puncture the skin. The bigger ones, those really hurt. You get bit by a
Yeah.
15 or 20-foot snake, those hurt bad.
Yeah.
So uh, so I can't really speak from the getting bit by a venomous and how the venom feels.
Okay.
I've heard reports. I've talked to people that have been bit. Something I do not recommend especially being an advanced EMT. I say if you get bit by a venomous snake, go to the hospital.
Hmm.
But I've got two friends that have been bit by copperheads, and they never went to the hospital. They swelled up a little bit. They were in a little bit of pain, but they just rode it out for a couple of days, and they were fine. Of course, copperhead is on the lower aspect of it. But I'm kind of curious too, kind of along those same lines. I understand. the venom reacts differently to different people. And then I've
Mhm.
had my friend, I told you about my friend who was didn't know he was allergic to the nightshade family, and then had to go to the hospital because of that.
Yep.
Getting bit by a snake. So I've been bit throughout the years. The smaller ones I'm kind of used to. I've had them bite me in the middle of presentations in front of a bunch of kids. Of course, you can't freak out in front of a bunch of kids, right? Um, so I'm kind of used to it. So when it happens, it's kind of like, okay, it's happened. The bigger ones still, they still hurt real bad.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure exactly how I want to ask this, but with the tolerance, when you build up your heat tolerance, comparing that to snake bites, it's like
Mhm.
the more you do it, the more you get used to it. But I'm not going to sit there and go in it. I guess it's kind of different with the hot sauce or peppers, because I'm not going to go in there and just get bit every day by a 15-foot snake just to get used to it. you know
Yeah,
but
yeah.
with hot sauce and peppers, it's kind of like, no, I'm going to do it to build up my tolerance. I want to be able to eat this and do this. So like I said, I don't know how really to exactly what to ask with that, but I kind of want to
Yeah,
ask
no,
about it. I don't,
I
you know
think I understand where you're going at with that, and I guess yeah, yes, the tolerance building on the capsaicin side is one thing, but I guess a perfect correlation here, and I'll also tie it to a third example, and the perfect correlation here is so many people that don't like spicy food in general will look at somebody that does like spicy food and be like, "You are crazy for eating that. You're crazy for doing this. Why would you
yeah,
even
yeah,
touch that?" And the same thing for, me as a person that's uneducated about snakes. I'm like, "Why are you touching that right now? What is going on? You are insane. I don't want to do this. I'm so nope,
yeah.
I'm over it." But it's the same, I would think the same correlation, but into the side of tolerance building and endurance and all these other things, because it's essentially kind of the same thing. Those two things go hand in hand. I think back to like whether this be like monks or you'll just see like people in martial arts, typically more of the discipline defense side of things,
Mhm.
where they will train by either hitting a brick or a wall, something that they know they're likely not to break, only to strengthen their body blow after blow. I mean, think about
Mhm.
like uh, kickboxers, etc. The different martial
Yeah,
arts. They'll go
yeah,
in there and they'll go kick palm trees, or they'll go kick trees in general, right? And you see all these things and you're like, why are you beating your shins like this? And it's
yeah,
hey, the same thing. It's like you look at that person that's doing this, and you're like, all right, something might not be right with them, but you don't think they're completely off their out of their mind. But you'll
yeah.
look at someone that, if you were to take that same example, like you're saying, big old snake just continuously biting you day after day, and then someone might go, you need to go talk to somebody because you're in hell. You need some help. But it's just strange correlation. I guess it's
Yeah.
the unknown, the uneducated mass side of things that really makes it to where, as that person on the outside, you go, why would you do this? But
Hmm. Hmm.
it's yeah, it's interesting. So I think that was kind of what you were getting at as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So oh
It's it so yeah, I get it from both. I get it from the steaks and from the hot sauce. I hear it from both sides.
yep.
So, you know, it's I don't know, it's just something you like, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I know,
Yeah,
and
I'm weird, I'll admit
yeah,
it.
well, hey, not there's no real standard of normality. There's only the perceived normality from whatever you perceive, et cetera, the next person perceives, so on and so forth. But what's interesting, and I thought about this a little bit just a second ago, but now I know two different chili heads that are both named Steven, that both love snakes. They both keep snakes, and the very very true in that sense of the outlook on hybridizations, etc. And I know that his own things. I know he recently, moved states, etc. Had to kind of downsize the amount of snakes because of that. A very, very true to what you're saying. The whole permits, the whole what's safe, what's legal, all that stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, but at the same time, I hear him talk about snakes a few times here and there, and I'm just like, you know way more than I know about this stuff, and good on you. But that's it's just like it's one of those things where it's like I don't know, I don't quite have a phobia of it. We'll put it that way. Like
Mhm.
you'll always, and this is I guess maybe something else that I wanted to touch on briefly, which is the idea of today. I feel like in today's world, you're having more people that will harm snakes just out of not understanding the snakes or what's really the situation going on at hand versus the ones that, either used to hunt them for either food or their, I guess the skin, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so, like, you have kind of this shift. Do you think it's more detrimental when there was people hunting versus the just overtly unknowing of what's going on?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a very good question. Because I've seen, not just with snakes, but I mean, you can study history and see how they just kind of wiped out lots of animals just
Mm-hmm.
because. Um, that's very interesting. I mean, I'm gonna kind of go back and forth to both sides.
Yeah, yeah.
So our mission statement at Snaketuary is to eliminate fear through education and bring peace through rescue. And we're huge on education. Every time somebody calls us out on a snake call, we always stay there and talk to them. We do all these presentations for schools, libraries, scout groups, first responders every year to get that education out there. And I've seen numerous times throughout every year somebody will come up and go, you know what? I used to hate snakes. I used to kill them on sight, but I went to your presentation and now we saw this snake in our yard. We knew what it was because of your presentation. We didn't kill it. We let it go. Um, so I personally see that transformation because of our presentations. Um, but I guess going to seeing the history of it and seeing people, I mean, it wasn't just snakes, but it was just pretty much any animal,
Mm-hmm.
as the country, as the United States grew, they just kind of wiped out a lot of animals. They still have rattlesnake roundups in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
which is is horrible. The
Mm-hmm.
things that they do, they sew their mouths shut so people can hold them and get pictures with them. They ruthlessly kill them. I don't want to go into a lot of details. I don't want to
Mm-hmm.
gross out your audience, but there's grotesque things that they do with these rattlesnake roundups, and it's just for no reason. There's just no reason. They say that they're overpopulated, which is
Mm-hmm.
not. That's not true at all. They just do horrific things to get these snakes out of their dens, and then they just kill them all. There's no education. It's just for fun, quote unquote. Um, and so you still have that ruthless killing for no reason. I don't understand. I can't understand why people do that. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's a living creature. I don't understand. Just why don't you just say it's a living creature? It's trying to live.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all stems that I think that fear gets passed down from generation to generation to generation. I think for like the rattlesnake roundups, that ruthless killing, kind of like what they did in history with every other animal, like the buffalo and things like that. I think it just goes down that fear gets passed down from generation to generation, or the kids see what their parents do and they just kind of grow up with that. And that's something we try to do. We try to stop all that. Say, hey, it's a living creature. It's trying to, it's. I'm not, and like I said, I don't want to get too in depth with your audience. I don't want to
Yeah.
mess anybody up. But I asked the question: do you want to do that to a dog or cat? So why would you do it to a snake?
Yeah.
So, man, I see it. I see that from both sides, man.
Yeah.
And I could really talk a lot about that. I've got
Yeah.
very strong opinions on it.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to go, like I said, I don't want to mess your audience up, but if anybody watching ever wants to go into detail, you can call me or email me, and we can discuss it. So
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, it's great what you're doing, being able to educate and help inform those that are, not only just in Louisiana, but being able to help identify different snakes throughout the whole entire United States. That's a huge impact there because, yes, very true in that sense. I feel like a lot of us that grew up at with the early days, I guess if you will, of computer games and Oregon Trail being
mhm.
on there,
Yeah,
and all of a sudden little Susie dies by snake bite out
yeah.
on the midway across America. It inherently has trained a lot of our brains that snake
Yep.
equal bad,
Hmm.
and society associating snakes with demonic, all these other, like, have all
Hmm.
these,
Yeah.
I guess,
Yep.
negative connotations. Very true to like the whole negative connotations that come in with the peppers. Everyone always thinks a pepper's gonna burn a hole through your stomach, or
Yep.
it's going to you're just gonna absolutely explode into flames or something. But
Yeah.
it's just, hey, it's a different area in life in which we as a society are not educated to the same standard as we are with, being able to talk or being able to,
Hmm.
perform a daily task. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm kind of going back to that just a little bit. I was mentioning how that I think that fear of snakes just gets passed down from generation to generation. In the pepper world, in the hot sauce world, I didn't want. Now I'm different, okay? So I don't want anybody to criticize my parenting skills. But when my kids were younger, I didn't want them growing up with the same mindset, the same fears, the same walls already built in their lives.
Hmm.
So I'm not, do not, please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Do not construe what I'm saying. But as my kids were growing up, now I did not do it when they were babies or little bitty. Okay. This is, getting up there, but still kids. I let them try different hot sauces, different peppers. I would
Hmm.
say, look, just try it.
Hmm.
And just to anyway, again, I don't want to get off into
Yeah.
parenting and
No.
things like the things that I did, but it's the same thing with snakes. Now, look, I didn't put snakes in their crib and all that. Okay, don't take these things to the extreme. But my kids grew up around snakes. They don't
Hmm.
have that fear of them.
Yeah.
My kids grew up around hot sauce and peppers, and they're not reluctant. They know what I'm doing now. If I say,
Hmm.
"Hey, try this, try a little bite," they know what I'm getting at. But
Yeah.
so they're a little, they know I'm messing with them a little bit. But my kids try hot sauces. We go to hot sauce festivals a lot,
Yep.
and they go off on their own to different tables and try hot sauces without me. I don't have to say, "Here, try this." They're doing it on their own now, and I mean, I think it's great going back just as kids. You know what I
Yep.
mean? In when I do my presentations, a little slogan that I have is "Stop the fear before it starts." And I think it's the same thing with peppers and hot sauces and things like that. I'm not saying doing it when they're babies and little bitty kids, but don't don't start that fear. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Don't if your kid wants to try hot sauce, let them try hot sauce. If they want to try a pepper, let them try it. Now warn them, don't, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Don't be stupid with it, but if they want to try it, try it. Encourage them to try it. Try different things. You
Yep.
never know.
Yeah, yeah, because then you start to limit yourself on so many things in life when you do that. Same thing with like my kids. I had them initially eating a hatch with me, and then a poblano, and so on and so forth. And so now, like my youngest, my girls, they will eat. My youngest will actually eat a jalapeno with me for a good bit, and then once it gets closer to the seed base, she's like, I can't tell quite if it's the texture that she doesn't like or if it's just the
Mm.
heat. Um,
Yeah.
but hey, it's one of those things. It's introducing it, letting them navigate that portion of their life. It's the same thing with, like, you'll see moms, dads, whatever. Kid will be running out in the yard, trip over the garden hose, and hit the ground, right? And then it's like,
Mhm.
if you rush over there and show them that they should be concerned, they're going to grow up with the idea that they should feel concerned and think that it's a big ordeal. If
Hmm.
they get up and you see them kind of like a little bit confused as to what just happened, it's not that they are necessarily feeling a certain way. It's their body, very true to like the other stuff that we were talking about. It's their body trying to figure out, what do I interpret this as? What
Yeah.
do I
Yeah.
process this as? And
Yeah.
so injecting into someone else's understanding and processes in that is a bit of a, you starting to fence and build in this box that you're
Mhm.
supposed to
Yeah.
live within. So
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm
I
kind
like the idea.
I, now I want to kind of branch out away from that, and talk about not just kids, but society as a whole. So I see it again from both sides. I see it in the snake world. People grew up hating snakes and not liking them, being scared of them, and me trying to break that as adults. It's
Mm-hmm.
easier with kids, but because kids don't have that life experience and all those people telling them one thing. So it's easier to teach kids that. It's harder to break it from the adults. They just kind of have their mind set, you know? But then with the pepper world, with the spicy world, you have, I, I guess over the last couple of years, it's gotten popular. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you have more big name companies putting out spicy products,
Yep.
and then I see so many. Some I'm not sure. I kind of want to wrap all this together in one, so kind of it
Yeah.
sounds fragmented right now. But I see so many kids eating the spicy Takis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but they won't get into hot sauce. They
Mm-hmm.
won't try other spicy products. They like these certain spicy things, but not these other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, we were talking about kids and kids growing up, but then I want to go from that, but branch it out into society as a whole, and how, you've got certain shows now with spicy stuff and things like that. So it's getting more, I hate this term, but it's getting more mainstream,
Yep.
but there, you still have these little small niches. You still
Mm-hmm.
have, even though spice in general is getting mainstream, there's still things that people either won't try or won't get into, or they're still standoffish about it. So what are your thoughts or feelings and stuff about that?
Yeah, so I've talked about, I guess, a very similar correlation before, and it's ultimately humans, as is with most living creatures as well, are creatures of habit, right? So we stick with what we know, we stick with what we're comfortable. Anytime something disrupts that comfortability or challenges our day-to-day routine, all of a sudden this stress, worry, anxiety, all these things start to like pour down upon you. That feeling that what you're having in that moment, I guess, thrown off, if you will, from this all is mostly because of wanting to stay within those parameters, not keeping an open mind, not keeping exploration in your heart, I guess, if you will, because like you can explore so many different facets of life. There's obviously just this limiting factor that we let in. It's the whole idea of doing like a cold plunge in the morning or something like it. It's to shock the system to tell your body like you're not in control. My brain is
Yeah,
telling me
yeah,
what I should do. I'm not listening to my body in that sense, and
yeah.
you kind of break through those mental barriers. And so, yeah, sometimes that breakthrough process is the thing that completely changes someone's life forever. It's the thing that
Mhm.
pushed them past that comfort. Because you see those memes all the time where it's like the miner and he's going through and he just stops because he's like, I've gone
Yep, yep,
60% of this way and I'm never going to see anything. And you got that one person that's like, day in, day out, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to just keep going. And then all of a sudden they strike all the gold, the diamonds, whatever.
yep, yep.
Go ahead and bring up your website here for anyone that is curious and wants to make sure they're on the correct place. I will go back to the home page. You will see as you go to Steve's Snaketuary, it is going to have tons of information, obviously, about the snakes. It's got the education piece. It's got all the other stuff that's going on in here. But if you're looking specifically for the hot sauce, click on over to the store and you scroll on down and you will see the 10 different hot sauces that are available at the moment. Now, as far as the sauce that started it, do you still make it? And if so, which one is it?
Yeah, so the original three, if I remember correctly, were the Copperhead, the Cottonmouth, and the Canebrake. I believe
Okay.
those were the original three. So yeah, we still make them. The formula's changed just a little bit because sometimes things are seasonal, sometimes things get hard to get, especially after the last couple of years. But they're pretty much the same as
Okay.
as we started. We've just kind of added and expanded and everything else. So.
All right. Very nice. Now, and as far as the overall peppers and stuff that you use in your sauces, are you growing your own peppers or are you utilizing other growers that are either local or how does that look for you?
Yeah, so they're outsourced. I don't grow my own peppers. That kind of goes back to the people ask me all the time if I breed my own snakes, and it's a whole other world,
Yep. Yep.
Instead, from the rescue and the education standpoint, that's enough. Me doing the sauces is enough. I just growing peppers would be a whole other. It'd be cool, but it's a whole other ball game. And I
Yeah.
just honestly, I'll be honest, just perfectly honest, I don't have the time for it. So
Yeah.
all that stuff's outsourced. We get a lot of them from South Louisiana. We get some of them from other parts, but yeah, so that's all outsourced.
Okay. Easy
Yeah.
enough. I was gonna say if you were growing also, I don't know. You must just charge by wall outlet at that point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
that's very cool. Now, from a personal use case standpoint, I know you said whenever you essentially reignited, pun intended on that, with your overall capsaicin journey, you kind of stayed in the
Mhm.
deep end. Where do you gravitate now on a daily consumption use?
Daily, I guess it's about a medium heat level. But of course, it's all going to depend on what I'm eating,
Hmm.
whatever I'm in the mood for. I don't know. There's been times I'm like, I've got to have something hot. I've got to have something hot. Um, People think I'm crazy because I buy peppers and I just eat them. They just think, whatever.
Yeah.
So, but majority of the time, I guess it's on a upper medium level, I guess.
Okay.
Now, I do want to throw this out there too. With our sauces, we didn't just go straight up heat with everything either.
Hmm.
We did, we got the flavor in there too. So, and we've got some that if you're not very good at spice, then we've got some on the lower level. So it's not just straight up heat.
Yeah.
I do want to say that for everybody out there because there's, everybody's on different levels. So we want to cover it for everybody, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, absolutely. And one of the things that makes a sauce a successful sauce is making sure you have the flavor dialed in, because you
Yeah.
can ask anyone that has bought the, world's hottest or any kind of like things that claim to be the hottest in the
Mhm.
world of hot sauce. And we'll call it 98% of people that own those either are utilized once and put on a shelf or just very seldom in small amounts. And it's not
Mhm.
for the flavor, it's always just to bring the heat. So, yeah, it's much more impactful. And obviously, driving home more success for a good cause by having it palatable for everyone, enjoyable for everyone, and also
Yeah.
still offering the higher heat, because I know you still have some that are hotter.
Mhm.
So, okay, all right. Now,
Yeah.
something that obviously we got connected by way of the Pepper Pals. I definitely wanted to make a
Yep.
chance to plug Pepper Pals as well for anyone that's in the Louisiana area, definitely in the Shreveport area. Get tapped in with the Pepper Pals if you like spicy food, and definitely if you have a nice crossover with a love for snakes, get in contact with Steve, and you'll definitely have a great time. Uh, you know amazing recommendations there to go check out the Noble Savage, and really enjoyed that silly sauce there. So for anyone that is unfamiliar, the Pepper Pals are a group that are all capsaicin lovers, if you will, that are just
Mhm.
unifying and going to restaurants to have these restaurants kind of pull together and create a great spicy dish to help, hopefully, bring that pain and bring that joy to those that are enjoying it from the Pepper Palace that night. And then I guess there's been obviously the Noble Savage. Has there been any other restaurants that you've kind of gone through, or y'all have had these events that have either kept something on the menu, or whether it be a sauce or a spicy variation of it, or is it just the majority of these kind of just a one-time thing?
I haven't checked back. I think that Mama's Italian House usually keeps some stuff. I
Okay.
know Noble Savage did. There was I think it was kind of early on. It may have been right before I found out about them, but there was a place that had some wings with their sauce, some spicy stuff. But I don't know. I don't want to misstep. I don't want to, say something that's wrong. But I haven't. There's some restaurants that I haven't been back to. It's not because they're not good. It's just we have so much stuff going on, and the pepper
Yeah.
pals go all over the place. So, but yeah, some of them have, and I'm sure some of them have, and I'm sure some of it's just a one time thing. But yeah, the pepper pals has been awesome, man. The it's not just about it is about eating hot stuff, but the community, the
Hmm.
camaraderie in that group, it has been great, man. I've met a lot of great people and become friends with a lot of people through that group. So it's awesome. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. Great group to get tapped into. Um, I'm curious to know now, because obviously I have tried the silly sauce. I know what that's all about. I ended up actually devouring half of it, using it as like a dip for my French fries for my burger,
Right.
poured the other half on my burger. But has there, which dish, I guess I should reframe, which dish from a Pepper Pals event really just blew you away from like a heat and, well, we could do this either heat and flavor, or heat and then flavor as a different category.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I I tell you one that went above my expectations, I guess. We had, and I don't remember this, honestly, don't remember the specific, what they had specifically on the plate, but Mama's Italian House, they had everything on the dish, the sides, the main course, the sides, the dessert, everything was just great, and it wasn't, again, it was hot.
Mm-hmm.
It was really hot, but it didn't distract from the flavor at all, so you could still taste whatever you were eating. But what was interesting was everything, including the dessert, was spicy. And
Wow.
that was an interesting thing. That was just very interesting to me, because most of the time you're going to go to a place and they're going to have the main, whatever the main thing is, that's going to be spicy, but everything else is going to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
But they had everything, and that was interesting. I like the way that they did that. It was very good. But even the dessert, like I said, it was spicy, but you could still taste the dessert. With the sides, you could still taste it. So that I just thought I like the way that they did that. I really like the way that they did that.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, the
Yeah.
level of thought and care that has to go into that dish, just to be able to have that well balanced, not only in just one area, like most kind of seek out to do, but to have it balanced and play well together, all on the same plate, is it's very cool to hear.
Yeah.
So I'll have to note that one down, and next time I pass through there, go check that on out. Might be back over that way mid August if
Nice.
everything keeps in line. But as you know, with life, anything can kind of
Yeah.
unfortunately change at a moment's notice. So, but yeah, I'll have to keep that on the radar for potential trip back down there in August.
Nice.
So. Okay, all right. From an inspiration standpoint, I want to dive into the sauces, but this next game is going to I think go perfectly hand in hand with this conversation. So let's do two
All
things
right.
at once.
All right.
Let's do the game and also talk about some inspiration. So let's do
All
this. Let's
right.
go ahead and
Let's do
jump
it.
it on. All right, here we go. We have a very special curated keep five, cut five. Now, oftentimes, I stage this game in a way that when someone has, say, 16 sauces as a sauce company, they are all pitted against each other. It's going to be kind of a little bit easier. It's still, you're going to have to pick your 5 favorite children. And I'll go ahead and preface now, just because something doesn't make the cut doesn't mean that you absolutely hate it or you don't recommend it. It's just your own, however you want to see this, personal preference, top performers, however you want to view it, it's all up to you. But we have 10 of your sauces here, and we are going to dive into these. They have a number correlated with them, so I will read them off. And the best way to go about this is you either do a keep or a cut first, and then you just kind of alternate until we have them all removed. So, or all selected. So we have here the very first one is this is the pygmy rattlesnake venom sauce.
Okay, well, you had to preface it, so I'm going to preface this too, because people
Okay.
ask me all the time what my favorite is, and I always tell them I'm not going to make a hot sauce I don't like. So they're always all my favorite. So I'm going to preface this game with that. Um, I like all my sauces, just like my snakes, for different reasons. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a favorite snake. As long as it's alive, I like it, and there's different reasons why I like it. So just like with the snakes, it's the same thing with my hot sauce. I'm when I play this game, I'm not saying I don't like this sauce or I want to get rid of it. So I want to preface this game with this.
All right. All
So
right.
with number one, put a red X on number one.
All right. Red X on number one. Number two, we have this is the coral snake venom sauce. This is the jerk sauce. I'll read these off as well for anyone that's audio only listening, so they can keep up with this. I forgot about that. But the number one is the pygmy rattlesnake. Number two is the coral snake venom sauce, jerk sauce. Number three is the Louisiana style sauce. Number four is the cottonmouth venom sauce. Number five is the copperhead venom sauce. Number six is the Cottonhead lemon pepper sauce. Number seven is the cane break rattlesnake chipotle blood orange hot sauce. Number eight is the anti venom hot sauce. Number nine is the cane break rattlesnake smoked ghost hot sauce. And then the copperhead venom sauce is number 10. So now we can kind of jump around however you see fit with a keep, ideally for the next one.
All right. So with the coral snake, the jerk sauce, let's keep that one.
All right. Easy enough. Where would you like to go next?
The Louisiana style, let's keep that one. Put a green check mark on that one.
All right. Now, as far as inspiration for these sauces, as we get ready to think about this next one, let you kind of think on it a little. Inspiration here, was this really trying to find a void in the space, or is this like more catering towards your own personal flavor preference on what you were seeking?
So what we did, I wanted to deal with the 5 venomous snakes we have here in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did originally. So originally we had the pygmy rattlesnake, the coral snake, the cottonhead, the cottonmouth, the cane break, and then the polyvalent antivenom were the original ones that we had. So I had and the copperhead. So we did the original 5 venomous snakes for Louisiana since I'm in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we tailored the heat levels and the flavors to the types of snakes. So copperhead, on the heat level, we had a 3 out of 10 originally, because they're on the lower spectrum of their venom. Their venom's
Mm-hmm.
not that toxic. And then the canebrake and the cottonmouth, they're about a 5 to 6 out of 10 on the heat level, because they're kind of up there. The pygmy rattlesnake is just below that. It's about a 5 on the heat level originally. And then Coral snake, we had about an 8 or a 9 out of 10, because of course it's neurotoxic and that venom's kind of up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course you've got to have the strongest one that we had at the time, because anti-venom has got to be stronger than venom. So
Yep.
that's why we made the polyvalent anti-venom. We had that one as the hottest one because it's got to be, again, anti-venom's got to be stronger than venom. So that's why we made the polyvalent anti-venom the hottest one at the time. And then I like the idea, kind of like what we were talking about earlier in the conversation, the cottonhead, when you mix the cottonmouth and the copperheads.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to do that, and I wanted to do something different for that because it's a different snake.
Yep.
Um, so we went with the lemon pepper flavor. And again, it again because like what we were talking earlier in the conversation, nobody's sure about the venom composition with that snake.
Yep.
And so lemon pepper, it's not too bad, because copperheads, they're lower on the LD50 level,
Mm-hmm.
and so lemon pepper, it's not too bad, but it's got a little bit of kick. And
Okay.
then of course, Louisiana style, everybody here's got Tabasco or crystals or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a big fan of those because it's just vinegar based.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand almost all hot sauce has got some type of vinegar in it, but I don't like that flavor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to say compete. I don't want to use that word compete, but I wanted something different. And that the reason I put a green check mark on that one is because that's becoming a fast favorite with a lot of people here. So I
That's
definitely
awesome.
that's the reason why I wanted to keep that one. So
That's awesome. Very cool to
yep.
hear. Now, I
Uh,
guess now we have what, another 7 on the board still. So, where would you like to go
okay.
next?
Um, I guess man. Okay, I could easily throw those three last green check marks on there. Um, I could easily do that. So I think, can we do that, or do you want me to start Xing some out first?
Yeah, yeah, we can do that.
Okay. So I'm gonna throw those last green check marks. First of all, I want to go with the polyvalent antivenom.
Okay.
The reason I want to do that was the original hottest one that we had, and that was my favorite at shows and presentations and things because people just weren't expecting it. Um, and then I'm gonna throw it on the cottonmouth green check mark on the
Okay.
green, just because it's got tomatillos and serranos in it, and it's good just like for tacos, burritos, that kind of thing. But I have a lot of people tell me that they put that on their eggs in the
Uh huh.
morning. So that one's pretty popular too. And I didn't mention this earlier on the coral snake antivenom, the jerk sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Not antivenom, the coral snake jerk sauce. I've had a lot of people marinate their chicken in that one. And the reason I like that one too, it's got kind of a slow burn to it. So you get the flavor right up front, but then the heat starts to slowly ramp up, and it's not something that people expect.
Yep.
But they always come back and they say that they really love that one. And just because the only reason I'm going to do, you know what? Well, I'm gonna have to do this one because of my wife. I'm gonna change this one up. So
Okay.
let's put that green check mark on the copperhead, and that I'm
All
doing
right.
that just for my wife. That bottom right one, not the one with the
Oh,
ghost pepper, not that one. Yep, that one right there. Yep,
all right.
I'm gonna do that just for her. So because that's her favorite. Now I will say this. I do want to say this with the original copperhead.
Uh huh.
That last green check mark that I put. This is what's weird with that sauce. So we have that on the lower end of the heat level, but because there's black pepper in it,
Uh huh.
I've had a lot of people tell me that that one's hotter than some of the other ones. And so
Interesting.
that always throws me off with that because I don't think it's that hot.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do, and I think it's that black pepper that's throwing everybody off. But that's an interesting one. That's my wife's favorite, so that's the only reason I put a green check mark on that one. I did that for her.
There we go.
Honestly, if it wasn't because of her, I would have put that last green check mark on the original cane break.
Okay.
Because I love red beans and rice, and I use that in my red beans and rice, and then spaghetti and things like that. I use that one a lot for different dishes.
Absolutely.
Um, and again, I'm going to say this again. I don't have a favorite of my sauces. I like them all. It's like my little kids. But again, it's like the snakes. I don't have a favorite snake. As long as it's alive, I like it for different reasons. So
Yep.
I don't want to tell people that I don't like these sauces.
Yeah.
So this was a fun but difficult game, I guess.
Yep.
That
Yep.
was awesome, man.
That's always the absolute fun of this all. But that was keep five, cut five, and very well done. If you would have answered any of these differently, if you have had these sauces, let me know down below in the comments. I can't wait to hear if any of these would have been, a potentially different outcome for someone watching and that absolutely has had the full lineup. I'm curious. Obviously, preference, and yes, very true to what you're saying. It's not something that, sure, you can easily pick a favorite, if you will, but there's always that, very true to what you were saying earlier, I guess, a correlation there of which is the deadliest snake. It's the one that just bit you. The same goes with which is your favorite sauce. Well, it's the one that speaks to you that day. So,
Yep.
hey, there's no wrong answer there, but absolute fun, a great way to kind of do a mental reset, refresh, and jump on in with the next part here. That's the nugget of knowledge. This is going to be geared towards maybe someone. I think I will do this in a different perspective today. Maybe it's someone very true to how you are with the passion for snakes and also the passion for hot sauce. Maybe someone has this ongoing passion in a different field, kind of like how you have with snakes, but they also have this creativity outlet, if you will, of creating a spicy snack or hot sauce or powder or whatever. What would be your nugget of knowledge for someone that's on the fence for like a potential combination like what you have going on?
Oh, well, I say, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier in the conversation, just go for it. You never know what's going to work and what doesn't work.
Hmm.
And that's kind of interesting that you're bringing that up because I'm about to work with somebody on making. I don't want to say what they are, but there's somebody else that cooks here. Um, Two things I do want to mention. So first of all, that there is somebody else that I'm going to work with on making some interesting items. We're going to
Okay.
see. We're just jumping in. We're going to see what works and what doesn't work. So I guess my nugget of knowledge would be do it. Just jump in, see. You never know what's going to work. Try something different. Be out of the box. Do what you like. If you've got a creative idea, go for it. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't work, oh well, try it again. Um, and just kind of a side note with that, I guess, is because I just had recently within this last month a chef that that I gave my hot sauce to, and she does this little cooking show, and she's using my sauces in these dishes that she's making, and it's blowing me away what she's using my sauces for. Like I wouldn't expect to put my sauces in that dish, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And so that's, I guess, my nugget of knowledge is that just go for it. If you like
absolutely.
it, great. You never know what's going to hit. You never know what's going to make it. So I'm just saying, just dive in and go for it.
Absolutely. Very well said there. Thank you for that nugget of knowledge. This next
Yeah.
part here is the hot seat nomination. Very true to what you've experienced yourself. This is someone that you think would make a great guest for the show.
I'm going to go with Mark and Charisse with Danielle sauces.
All right.
They've been awesome. I've become friends with them throughout the years, and I think you need to get Mark and Charisse with Danielle sauces.
Mark, Sharice, I'll be reaching out to have a time to have you come on the podcast. Thank you for that nomination there, Steve. Now, this
Yeah.
last part is greatly beneficial for those individuals that are just audio only listeners. Where can they find you? How can they find you? And any kind of last minute announcements, updates, anything you want to let them know, go ahead. This is your opportunity for that.
Awesome. Well, the easiest thing to do would just be go to our website at snaketuary.com. We're all over social media. We are all over social media, but the easiest thing to do would just be go to our website at snaketuary.com. I've got links to all of our social media on the website, so you can easily get the links there. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, I'm everywhere. If you want to try my hot sauces, just you can call me. My phone number is out there. My phone number's out there. My personal cell phone number. You can call me, text me, you can email me if you want the sauces. Just hit me up, and we'll work that out. And I'm open to talk to anybody about snakes and hot sauce. So you can email, like I said, email me, call me, text me, whatever. I'm open. I love conversation. So let's do it. Let's open up those lines.
Absolutely. Steve, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on here. There's still so much more we can dive into. So much more I still wanted to dive into, even right this moment. But, I think that this would be a perfect way to be able to not only showcase the continued success of the education of snakes, but also showcase the continued growth and continued creation of your different hot sauces and any kind of future products or things that you have going on. So would love to have you back on and dive back into all
Oh
this
yeah,
again.
that'd be awesome, man. I love it. I appreciate you having me on, man. It's been great.
Steve, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. If you would like to keep up with Steve's Snaketuary, I will have that linked down below, as well as a link to the main site, so you can check out the full lineup of information, the overall videos, and everything you need to know about snakes, as well as a full breakdown of his different merch and amazing hot sauce that also helps fuel and protect these snakes. Steve, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on. If you would like to keep up with Steve's Snaketuary, I will have the direct links down below for that, as well as all the socials, so you can keep up with him there, as well as he's got great merch and hot sauce that all help and fuel the cause of educating those over the fear of snakes. So head on over there, check those out, grab yourself some amazing hot sauce, and you're supporting a great cause at the same time. If you would like to check out the anti-venom, I will have the direct links down below for it, as well as many other videos we'll be rolling out that are also from Steve's Snaketuary on different hot sauces that he has. All 10 will be here in their own individual standalones on Scorchin' and Swearin'. So head on over there, check those out, and get a good idea of which sauce might be speaking best to you, or grab all 10. Also, new episodes drop every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central. Currently, we have sponsorship opportunities for the podcast. So if you're looking to have a featured segment in the podcast, have a sponsored segment in the podcast, please reach on out via theswearword.net or reach out via socials, and we'll get that conversation going. Also, if you're on a platform that allows for a rating and review of the podcast, please go ahead and do so. Leave a 5-star rating on there. That way, it continues to get in front of the algorithm and get us in front of more chiliheads or individuals that are curious about the world of hot, because this is where you can find everything to do with the world of hot. Quick shout out for our current sponsors, podvision.io. If you're looking to grow your brand, start your brand, you've hit a bump in the road and you're trying to figure things out, highly recommend checking out podvision.io for all of those needs, as well as webdx.one. Maybe you have an online site, maybe you had a guy at one point and you lost contact, maybe you just never got around to building one. Highly recommend checking out webdx.one. They make it simple, painless, and easy, and best of all, they get you looking great online while you get to focus on what you do best. I'm Brandon Swearin' from Everything from the World of Hot. This has been The Swear Word.